the end. But without further ado, I'll just welcome everyone to UUCD's forums for this morning. It's going to be focused on Together for Youth, and we're going to be joined by Brianna Glass, Lutheran Social Services Operations Manager, who will share an update about Together for Youth. Together for Youth offers a safe and welcoming space where youth can connect with their peers, find resources, explore issues, and navigate challenges. They offer one-to-one support, educational presentations, advocacy presentations, and youth meetings, and do amazing work in our Twin Ports community. So please give it up for Brianna. And with that, let's have a great presentation, everyone.
I'm afraid that Brett maybe oversold me a little bit. I don't know how riveting this is going to be, but I will try. Like he said, my name is Brianna. I use she, her pronouns. I am here representing Lutheran Social Services Together for Youth program.
Clicked on the Zoom thing first, but you're good now. From now on, there you go. It should work now.
So we're just going to start with a few statistics. We've all heard the statistics, right? Our LGBT youth are at a higher risk of bullying, of mental health complications, of suicide risk, and other threats. The Trevor Project's 2024 National Survey found some of those statistics of self-reported young people. 49% of LGBT youth have reported that they have been victims of bullying. 26% of young adults also report that same fact. 66% of LGBT youth have reported experiencing symptoms of anxiety, and 53% of those same youth have experienced symptoms of depression. 39% of our queer youth have seriously considered suicide in the last year, including 46% of trans and non-binary youth. 23% of LGBT young people reported that they have been physically threatened or harmed in the past year due to their sexual orientation or gender identity, and 60% of them have experienced discrimination for the same reason. So we really need to focus on the supporting of the LGBT youth. Queer young people report lower rates of attempting suicide when they have access to affirming spaces and communities. Studies have shown that young people that have even one positive, supportive, caring adult in their lives have better overall outcomes in their future. Queer young people need people in their lives to better understand and support their identities and advocate for them. Transgender and non-binary young people will with access to gender-affirming clothing, gender-neutral bathrooms, and who have had their pronouns respected had lower rates of attempting suicide. So that's where Together for Youth comes in. Together for Youth is a support group for queer young people ages 14 to 20. We offer a safe and welcoming space to connect with peers, queer community leaders, find resources, engage in healthy, age-appropriate activities. It provides healthy group dynamics as well as one-to-one support when needed. We meet every Wednesday from 4 to 6 at the Center for Changing Lives. We tried to provide a warm and welcoming space. TFY is led by openly queer adults. We meet in our largest conference room at CFCL, which we lovingly call the Rainbow Room. We have comfortable seating rainbow art throughout the entire room. Group members have access to art supplies, LGBT reading materials, board games, and age-appropriate Pride media. Together for Youth tries to have a large community presence. We participate in outreach opportunities whenever we're able. You can find us at the public library, local vendor fairs, skate parks, in the public schools, and at Pride events throughout the county. Our goal is to meet young people where they're at, letting them know that there are trusted adults available whenever needed. Through LSS, we have some other resources available to our entire community, but specifically to our Together for Youth attendees. We have our Teen Health Center, which offers free incentivized HIV testing, offers resources and referrals to accessible physical and mental health clinics, and offers harm reduction education and supplies. We also have the Teen Closet, which is located in the basement of First Lutheran Church. It's basically a free store. There's no cost, no obligations, and no questions. We provide clothing and accessories and personal hygiene items. Even though we call it the teen closet, it's available to anybody in the community that could use our services. And then we also have a runaway and homeless youth housing program, which would allow for our young people, if they're not feeling safe at home, a safe place to spend the night. We have really ramped up our community events over the last year. This spring alone, we have had 2 big events. One, we partnered with Outfront Minnesota, which is a larger organization from the Metro that's just kind of starting up here in Duluth, focusing on gender affirming care. We joined with them to do a gender affirming resource fair at First Lutheran Church. It was primarily held in our teen closet so that people could have access to gender affirming clothing. So they got to shop and find an outfit that really represented who they feel like they are. There were also other organizations there to provide resources and education. The other event that we just recently held was a special movie night at Zeitgeist. We showed the feature film The Prom and a short documentary, Take Me to Prom. Take Me to Prom was a documentary that interviewed people ages 17 through 70 about their experience of prom kind of through the queer lens. It was a really neat event, and we're hoping to do more things like that. Movie night was actually a kickoff event for Pride Prom. We're super excited about Pride Prom. It's our first big event that Together for Youth is hosting. It's available to queer and allied young people ages 16 to 24. We are going to have a dinner, a drag performance, dancing, games, a photo booth, door prizes. We're really hoping that this is going to be a fun event. We've had young queer leaders in our community be a part of planning this event, which actually speaks to why the age range is so large, because a lot of our older community members in that 23 to 24 age range weren't able to go to their prom because of COVID. So they really advocated to be able to be a part of this event. It's going to be on June 14th at Graceland in the Morris Room. And we're just hoping for a super safe and welcoming event for all. We've actually partnered with Security from the Metro to provide a little extra presence there just so that everyone can feel safe. And that's it. Does anybody have questions about Together for Youth or any of the events that we're holding?
I guess I have just a comment. I was the one who kept trying to reach you.
Nice to meet you officially.
Yeah. I belong to the Welcoming Congregation, affirming and welcoming committee team here in church, and also the interfaith. That one is called Welcoming and Affirming. So I'm kind of familiar with some of this, and we have brought hymns to various to the Trans Fest, particularly the Trans Day of
Trans Joy Fest?
Visibility.
Okay.
And we've done perhaps that Trans Joy, which is coming up. And we have a lot of buttons that our church has provided, and this did not happen to me. So I have a couple buttons that I haven't worn because I just haven't gotten around to wearing them. But at our last meeting in May, one of the women reported that she wore her button, and 3 different times people stopped and said, and one was a youth, and said, "I'm so glad to see that button," and I haven't asked about it. I started wearing it because I thought I should wear that. I'm an ally. I should be out in session. I should be wearing this button. I just didn't think it really. I thought it was a nice thing, but I didn't think it mattered. Now I think it probably does matter to be more visible, and And I hope I have more conversations with people as a result of wearing it. That's it. But thank you for coming. I'm so glad we got together.
I love that you wear the pins. We, at Lutheran Social Services, almost all of our staff wear a pronoun pin. And even if your gender aligns with what the world perceives you as, wearing that she, her pin tells other people that it's okay to talk to me about your pronouns if your pronouns don't necessarily align with what the world perceives. So you're absolutely right. Just by having that little pin makes a world of difference to a lot of different people.
Well put. Who else has questions? Sue?
I understand that you would want to protect the privacy of anybody, but I wonder if you could share some stories generically about what kinds of difference you have seen in people who have gone through your program.
Yeah, so one young person comes to mind. When they first started coming to our group, they didn't say a word. To the fact that we lovingly refer to this person as no name because they did not want to share their name. They did not want to share any information about themselves. They would come, sit in a corner, drink a Dr. Pepper, and just kind of hang out. They have been a pretty consistent member of our Together for Youth group. And as time has gone on, they've started to open up more. They've started to talk more. They've had ideas about different activities and different things that they want to see as part of our group. One day we were talking about how to potentially bring in more young people into this group. And we were talking about sending out flyers to different schools and things like that. And they said, well, if you send one to my school, does that mean kids from my school will be here? I said, yeah, that's the goal. And they're like, no, we don't need anybody from my school. You can reach out to all the other people. And then within a month, I think they brought a friend. So just that comfortability of knowing that this is a safe space, that they can be themselves and that they're not going to be pushed to do things that they're uncomfortable with, that we're going to accept them and meet them where they're at, I think is the most welcoming way that we can show up for kids.
Oh, I don't know how to ask this, but our democracy right now is being threatened. And there are a lot of intolerance in our country.
Mm-hmm.
And at what price should we be willing to pay to address issues like this? And at the same time, you know, trying to convince these intolerant people that, you know, this is you know what we should do.
I think that's the $1 million question, right? I think in the current climate, it's where the allies step up. Our trans brothers and sisters are not at a place where they're willing to put themselves in the center, right? So the allies need to be the ones between the naysayers, the hateful people, because our trans brothers and sisters can't take on anymore because they're fighting for their lives. So I think just allies showing up, not centering themselves, but showing up and being available and confronting the negative or the hateful speech that you're hearing or the negative connotations that come along with the pride word even. I think that is the first step and the biggest way that we can show up for our community right now.
I guess as a follow-up, there's two questions here online and weaving perfectly with that one. One of them is, do you have any additional recommendations, given the great examples that First Lutheran, you know, is providing with the teen closet space and some of these events that other supportive congregations like ours can be doing to be available not only for like a woven basket, but for programming or resources?
I think being aware of the different resources that are available in our community is a big step and would show queer community members within your congregation that you support them and that they have different opportunities available to them. I know that generally speaking, a lot of LGBTQ community members are nervous about attending church just because of kind of the way the world is right now. So I think the more pride flags and the more rainbows that we can put out and make visible, just to make sure that people know that they're welcome, is an easy step that we can take as well.
Thank you. And then the other question online, and then I'll pass it around for others here in the room, is from Laverne: where did LSS offices move to after the Ordean building was demolished?
Yeah, so in 2017, we actually did a new build in East Superior, or on East Superior Street. It's called the Center for Changing Lives. If you know where the chemical abuse detox center or detox treatment, we're right next door to them. So Alakef houses our financial workers, but our main hub, our main office, CFCL, is just a block down from that. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was wondering, this is on.
Now it is.
There you go.
So the Safe Bay controversy, does that affect your kids? I mean, I'm assuming there might be a 16-year-old who has a car, and are you working to help support the Safe Bay project?
Yes, so potentially it could affect our young people. Generally speaking, the youth that we serve, we try to house immediately, right? But we just don't have enough beds. We have 20 beds available to unhoused young people right now. And unfortunately, in St. Louis County and Duluth, it's just not enough. So some of our young people are staying at places like Chum and Safe Bay. So yes, LSS strongly supports the Safe Bay parking, and we're doing what we can to partner with Chum and stepping on up to make sure that that becomes a reality and they don't keep running into all these hurdles.
Am I on? I guess so. I very much appreciate you being able to be here and to kind of explain and at least let me know a variety of projects that you have. Now, I know Lutheran Social Services is a very large operation, and so that your corner of that operation is still very busy.
Very.
So thank you very much for being here and letting at least me know.
Absolutely, thank you for that. Yes, when I've only been with LSS since last July, so almost a year. And I knew that LSS was a thing. I had partnered with LSS in previous careers, but I didn't know the depths that LSS went. And even our small piece of pie here in Duluth is quite large. We have, I think, the organizations that I'm a part of within LSS, I think there's about 13 that I kind of help behind the scenes and make sure that things are running well. So, and that's just the little piece in Duluth. So LSS has a lot to offer. If you have more questions about LSS, we could talk about that later too.
Another organization that may be one of the little pieces that you're involved with, I'm guessing, is Lighthouse. And it sounds like their mission is similar to yours.
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk a little bit about your connection with that organization and what they do and how it differs from yours at all?
Yep, so Lifehouse is another youth-facing program here in Duluth, largely focusing on unhoused young people. They do a lot of assessments of people that are coming in saying they have nowhere to stay. They offer housing, I believe, for young people that are at risk of or have experienced sexual exploitation or trafficking. And then if the young people don't necessarily qualify for their type of housing, then they often refer to our programs. We have Another Door Shelter, which is up at Peace Church. They just opened in January. It's a beautiful 10-bed space, an emergency shelter for young people ages 18 to 24. We also have our transitional living program called Renaissance, and that's at the Center for Changing Lives. That's also a 10-bed unit, and that's available for unhoused young people ages 16 to 20. So Lifehouse and LSS kind of work hand in hand to make sure that our younger population is finding safe places to stay.
Just one more thing that maybe you don't know, in this welcoming and affirming group, which is made up of liberal faith people in this town, a woman is updating the LGBTQ directory for Duluth and for the Duluth area, and that is going to be put online so that it can be easily accessed by everybody. I don't think it's ready yet, but it's coming, and it's really needed. The old directory was so outdated.
I've been using that directory to try to get word out about Pride Prom, and you're right, it's a little dated, but it's been super helpful just to know like a friendly starting place to go. So that's very exciting that they're going to do an updated one, because I think we have a lot more resources in our community in the Twin Ports area to offer to our queer community.
We have a lot more right now. Mm-hmm. Hopefully this summer that will be out. And then I guess one thing I didn't think about is how to make that known that it's available,
Mm-hmm.
to all the groups in town that could benefit from using it.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of youth-facing organizations that are LGBT friendly or specifically serve LGBT young people. And so just getting it in the hands of those agencies, I think is a good start, because then we can start to spread the word to the young people as well.
Maybe we can add to that.
Absolutely.
All right, I'll put you in touch with
Perfect, thank you.
Passing the mic again, I'm just going to pass this around. I know we have time in our services for this as well, but if you are here and not planning on donating there, if you're interested, we'll just pass around the woven basket for supporting Together for Youth too. They put you on the spot, Richard, you can't vote.
To what extent is homelessness an issue with this group?
It's pretty extensive. I don't have the direct stats, but there is an organization that does a study every 3 years just to look at homelessness on one single night in Minnesota. And the last time it was done, I believe there were 70 unhoused young people ages 16 to 24 in St. Louis County alone. 70. And that's really tough, especially for our minors, the young people under 18, because there aren't beds available. There are, I think, 20 beds available here in Duluth. And even fewer as you go up to the range in the more rural areas of our county. And that population is disproportionately LGBT and BIPOC people. So it makes it difficult. And that's why places like Safe Bay and the Warming Center are super important.
I think there's questions online. Or comments.
The comments were about holding the mic closer for our online attendees. Any other in-person ones? Yes.
I'm wondering if you can speak to the impact that the current administration is having on particularly queer young people with executive orders and budget cuts, and if there's any way that we can ramp up our support for organizations like yours.
That is a great question. And I think the biggest impact we're seeing is fear, right? People are afraid to be who they are. I had a conversation with one of our young people. I'm gonna try to hold it together. There's a lot of reporting that goes along with doing nonprofit work. And a big piece of reporting is demographics. And one of our non-binary youth was very stuck on the fact that they had to be put back in a box, that they had to go back to checking female, even though that doesn't align with who they are and who they've worked really hard to be comfortable with becoming over the last several years. And so that fear and just holding space for the young people is our biggest job right now. To the effect that safe organizations are also afraid of losing their funding. And so language on websites and marketing materials are drastically changing. And so our queer community that isn't aware of the safe resources that are available to them can't as easily go online and find out which programs are safe for them to show up authentically. So if congregations like your own are able to be aware of the programs that are available to our queer young people, and making sure that the church is a safe place and we can talk about different things that are available to you in this space, I think that would be a big help, because the information just isn't going to be as readily available as it used to be, unfortunately.
So if you have a shelter, you have too many kids that need to be in that shelter, do you notify the police? Just say, you know, we have these kids, we're turning them away. Is there any park they can go to that's safe? I mean, really, how do you turn away these kids at your door?
It's difficult. It's difficult. And I'm not saying that police aren't wonderful and have a role, but when dealing with young people looking for housing, that's not our first motive of operation. A lot of times it's calling around and seeing if other organizations have a bed available. There are some organizations in town that will provide a bus pass so they can at least stay on the bus overnight, or a voucher for a hotel so that they can have a safe place to sleep. But unfortunately, there weren't enough resources before, and unfortunately with this administration, there's going to be even less available to the people that need it the most. So I don't have a good answer.
Do you have a list, like let's say I have a home and I have a room in my home and you've got a kid that needs a bed. Do you have a list like that, or do you have to vet me or make sure?
From an organization standpoint, that would have a lot of red tape and logistics. From a community church response, that might be a great way to house extra people, have extra safe spaces available, where when we have to turn young people away, that we can call the pastor and say, hey, we've got this kiddo, they might be coming to you, can you direct them in the right way? So that might be a grassroots operation that you guys want to start up.
To what extent is there an effort to reconnect these youngsters to families?
That's always our first line of defense, especially if they're underage. If they're under 18, our first line is looking at their family of origin, their foster family, their kins, their extended family, things like that, and working that route. If it's not safe for them or if it's just not viable, that's when we start to look at like permanent supportive housing and other programs like that. But especially working with young people, we always try to preserve those family relationships if it's appropriate.
So to some extent, the families themselves are in a poor situation.
9 times out of 10, that's why the young people are homeless. or unhoused or running away from home. It's because home isn't a safe place. There isn't space at home. Maybe parents are incarcerated or are struggling with addiction themselves. So there's just a lot of other factors that are leading to these young people being unhoused.
So it's not just that youngsters are leaving their families. They just don't have a family.
Yep, that's absolutely right.